things are discrete events that is happening, but as an experience, I'm experiencing everything as a single event that is happening. So this is one aspect of an experience, that it is a unit. At the same time, okay, it has a different modules. Okay, you're in the background of a single unit, right? You are also listening to me. It is a separate category by itself. You are also thinking what I'm telling. That is a separate unit by itself. There could be a lot of questions that are arising in your mind. That is also a separate unit by itself. So you have a different modules, and all these modules, and we are experiencing a single entity, and it has a very graded complexity. It depends on various other these characteristics. So these are the three important aspects of any of these experiences. So from neuroscience perspective, how do we tackle this particular problem? Two important things. Number one is about if you look at, say, body-mind problem or the mind-mind problem, we have, say, for example, mind as a phenomenological mind, as an experiential mind. But if I take from a neuroscience perspective, I can understand mind from the computational point of view. What happens in the brain when these information goes, how this is computed, how these things process takes place, and in turn this bring about certain experiences. So I have two important things. One is a phenomenological mind as an experiencer that I'm experiencing, but how this experience is brought about from a third person perspective. I look at the brain and see that graded complexities and many things that is happening. So how these say processes that happens, it brings about my subjective this experience. So we have two ways of looking at this. One is from the third person perspective as a mechanism, and as a first person perspective that I'm actually what is that I'm experiencing. So with these two perspectives, at this point of time, there are two major theories that brings about. So how do we approach, say, these two issues? Now when I say about the first person experience, that what I'm experiencing, where and that experience is giving me a sense of this that I'm living, right? So we have core consciousness and also an extended consciousness. Because what is core consciousness, which I told you that I'm actually experiencing something, and what is an extended consciousness? Whatever I'm experiencing, if that particular information is been accessible to certain parts of the brain, I can verbalize and I can tell that. Okay, so some information is there in my brain, and gradually that particular information has to be accessed to certain parts of the brain, and if it is accessible to that part of the brain, right, I can produce it as a language. I can or it can output can be like that of a behavior. Right? So we have a core and also we have an extended consciousness. Now, so most of the time, so our debate on consciousness will be more on the extended consciousness, because that is what actually we feel and also behaviorally that is expressed. So, but in the brain you have a different mechanism that to say that when actually you can really cognize or experiencing something, it's only when there is a feedback mechanism. Now, what do you mean by a feedback mechanism? Now, see, a light is falling on me, right? And on my body, the light is going through your retina, it is going to your brain. And some process is happening in the brain, right? And you people are seeing me and I am seeing, say, you people. But in the brain itself, right, there should be something called as a feedback mechanism. Unless until that feedback mechanism happens or that particular circuit is there, we cannot really understand or cognize something. So one important thing, right, from the circuit point of view, that there should be a feedback, that mechanism should happen. So if that is the case, then if you ask, then what will happen in deep sleep? Or what will happen to a person who is in a deep coma stage? Does he really experience something? does there can be any part of the brain which is really active in that particular the state. Now there are say few important insights into this. Important insights into this is that okay, now suppose say if I want to learn something, I should be very conscious about what I am learning. A aspect of an attention should be there. A part of that, okay, I am learning something, that particular phenomenological thing should be there. But now there are evidences, okay, from the scientific point of view that says that even in deep sleep also a person can learn. So learning can happen even in deep sleep also. Now what do you mean by what is that happens in the deep sleep? So if you look at say this, so this is part of a deep sleep, where in deep sleep only few part of the brain will be very active. Not all the parts of the brain will be very active in that, right? So where we lose the sense of ourselves. But even in that particular state also, a new things can be learned. So this is the one important thing, okay, that has come up now even with the certain with addiction. Say we have tobacco addiction. When you have a tobacco addiction, to how a person can get de-addicted, just in the experimental evidences, even certain things that a person can develop an aversion for certain type of an addiction, even in the deep sleep also. But the person is not aware that he has learned something new. But a new information has gone to his brain, and brain has learned some new information, but a person is not aware of it. So when a person is not aware of it, and when he gets up in the morning, he senses that okay, he has learned something new. So the learning is not completely a attention focus or a cognitive phenomena, and is a deep sleep is completely a non-conscious state? It is not, because a learning can happen even during a deep sleep state also. Not only that, even if you the studies have shown that even the person who is in deep coma, right, you ask him to imagine a oral instruction to imagine his house, right, and he imagines his house, and with the scanning it is people have shown certain areas they light up, right, in the same areas where for another person, where a normal person, when he imagines about his house. That is to say that, as I told you earlier, that a person even the deep coma, certain areas of the brain has not functioning, but still some information is there that is going. What is the instruction? Can you imagine your house? He imagines the house, he has a feeling, tears can come, emotion can come, but he cannot express. Why he cannot express? Certain areas of the brain is not functioning. So even in the deep coma stage also, right, there is a certain part of the brain that experience is there. So this, now, not only that, now studies have emerging that even the infant in the womb has an experience. That so that fetus can experience something, right? And there are certain things that the fetus cannot spend more in the rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep. And REM sleep is very, very important, for the emotion development, cognitive development, and it is very important, for the brain development also. So even in the womb, right, the fetus, it has REM sleep, and it definitely it is experiencing something, but what it is experiencing, nobody knows, because as a fetus, it cannot express that what actually it is experiencing. So therefore, when this entity called as experience that comes as a core experience of something, right? So we can say that okay, there is a life process, okay, that is happening. So there are so many theories. I won't go into details of that is developed based on these observations. Now, one important thing, okay, that comes with these theories, that whenever we are into a spiritual practice or into meditation practice, what are the things that is happens? Now, the way in which the brain works is called as predictive mechanism. There are so many mechanisms. One is called as predictive mechanism. Now, what is a predictive mechanism? This predictive mechanism, it is all based on my prior assumptions and what is that the emotion or the memory that I have kept in my mind. As and with these processes, the interference of these emotions, interference of these memories, it goes on reducing or it is diminishing and diminishing and diminishing and diminishing, right? My extended consciousness, it goes on reducing and reducing, and I will go to the state of the only that state of pure that experience that comes. Why? All this interference of my baggage that I have there in terms of memory or whatever it is there, it is not interfering with that. So in one of the imaging studies, they have shown that when you chant a mantra is given to you and you are going and chanting a mantra. Why is that chanting one specific mantra is very important is because when this mantra is in my conscious state, it prevents the intrusion of other memories into this, at least at that point of time. So then gradually when I'm practicing, right? So there is one particular entity, right? It covers a whole of my conscious experience. So this is the one process where that the pathological intrusion, I cannot say it as a pathological intrusion or an intrusion of unnecessary things at that point of time, what I have supposed to do when I train my mind with this, so that certain areas of the brain also it modulates by itself. So therefore the predictive capacity of the brain, it goes on modulating, right? And we can go feel that particular state of only that of an experience that comes. So therefore these meditation training, it helps us to modulate our attention, memory, emotion regulation. So with all those things, and there's a process in which we get into this pure experience. Now so just wanted also to share with you, we have also been taking the permission with Vishalaji also that being process. Yesterday also we heard about the Tukdam. That is one of the state in which, especially from the Buddhist perspective, that a highly spiritually evolved person, when he is clinically declared dead, but according to their tradition, right, the person will be still alive, right, and even the body is kept, right, even to certain couple of days, sometimes 10 days, 15 days, 30 days also, where still the putrefaction doesn't happen. And once the putrefaction sets in, and they have their own criteria to say that at this point of time the person is dead, right, and then the body is taken for the last rites. So we have been witnessed a couple of such events. So this particular event which I am showing you is when we visited Mungod, that is one of the Buddhist monastery, where they declared that one person has gone to a Tukdam state. So it was almost, I think it was for 25 days that kept after the clinically dead, the person, a monk, in a sitting posture, and we placed many EEG electrodes and all those things. So many works that is happening. Why all these things we want to bring about this series? See, these philosophical ideas, these concepts, now it's not confined only for the philosophical debate and the faith. It has to be got into rigorous investigation, and it is happening at this point of time. And so therefore, we have to be quite open for all these things. And why this concept that has come here, they also feel that philosophically, that consciousness is something beyond physical, right? And when that leaves this physical body, right, then the person is actually, it is going to die. So two important things which I want to mention, that whether we feel as alive or that of the consciousness, at least for our experience, my mind and body complex is a must. If my mind and body complex is not there consciously, I cannot feel life, nor I cannot feel any of these experiences. So I have to understand how this body works and how this mind works. Even if I want to have say good spiritual experiences, it has to be through this mind-body complex, right? Otherwise, as a person, really I cannot experience this particular thing. But what actually is consciousness from philosophical perspective? So we say that consciousness is not the product of mind-body. Consciousness is a separate entity, but it illuminates the mind and body, right? And consciousness is known to bring about the functioning of the mind-body complex and all those things. But if I take a meditation as a model to evaluate these things, or if I take any other model to evaluate these things, so we know that this mind-body complex is very important even for us to have that experience of a spiritual experience. So therefore, three important aspects which I want to share and end my talk. So when we want to have the sense of pure experience, one has to sharpen one awareness and the perception. And what is the goal? It is to overcome, right, or to transcend these mundane experiences and to go for and to have a pure experience. Suppose if my goal is want to have a pure experience itself, why is that I have to sharpen my awareness at this point of time, which is confined to my mind and body complex? So does it mean that, right, to have that pure experience, I have to sharpen my biological system at this point of time, right? So does it mean the way for the pure experience of pure consciousness is through biology? It is through this mind-body complex. So can we understand the consciousness from this perspective? That is the process that happens. We are not about not to debate what consciousness is, not to debate what life is, but we know that there are spiritual experiences.